When I first saw this business, I was heavily in debt, and I saw it as a way not only to change my lifestyle, but to be able to clear my debts much, much quicker than I had. I had credit card debts, several credit cards, all maxed out. I had consolidation loans. I'd taken consolidation loans several times, so I'd got consolidation loans of consolidation loans. And it was, the last one that I took out was actually scheduled to be finally paid off when I was 63 years old, which was over 20 years from when I took it out. And I hope you've noticed I've still got a way to go before I hit that milestone, but my debts were cleared off a long time before that, using this business in order to pay them off. What I want to share with you now is exactly what I did in order to pay off my debts. The first thing I needed to do was to solve the problem of the debts rising year on year. And to do that, you just need to make sure your income is more than your expenditure. And my situation was, like many people, that although my income on paper looked like it was enough to match my expenditure, it was when the unexpected things came about. The car broke down, or the washing machine broke, or something unexpected happened that you had to get it on your credit card, and then that was the start of the slippery slope. Because however much you tell yourself you'll pay it off, something else happens and you start making minimum payments and it starts to go up with the interest, and it's a vicious circle. So the first thing I needed to do was either reduce my expenditure or increase my income. And what I chose to do was both of these things at the same time. So the increase in income came about through building my forever business. And I put almost all the income, the growing income from the forever business, towards paying down the debt. A little bit of it was towards paying the mortgage, so I didn't get into arrears with that. But most of it was towards paying down debt. I also had a real budget to live off to make sure that the debts didn't increase. And this is really important. So all the luxuries went out of the window because I wanted to be able to pay down the debts as quickly as possible. This became my primary goal, paying off the debts. And I drove a second-hand car. It was a beat-up Vauxhall Corsa. I would drive up and down the motorway in the Vauxhall Corsa, and although other people thought it was weird, even when I was earning pretty good money from the forever business, they wondered why I didn't buy a new car with that money. The reason was because my primary goal was not to drive a flash new car, it was to pay off my debts. Because let me assure you, once you have paid off your debts, actually you can afford any flash car you like, because you've got all the money that's coming in available to spend, not most of it going out to service debts. It was frightening how much servicing my debts was costing me. More than half my income was there just servicing the debts, paying the credit cards, making payments on loans, and all those kinds of things. More than half. And suddenly, when you eventually get to the point where you've paid off your debts, even if your income hasn't grown, you've got twice as much money as you had before, because you've got all this spare money that before was just being funneled to the banks or the credit card companies. So here's what I did. I sorted the income expenditure balance to make sure I had a small excess of income over expenditure. And I did that, as I said, through living on a budget and through working my forever business so that I'd got this income. It wasn't a huge amount of excess income that I had in the early days, but it was enough to make a start. And for me, it was as much a symbolic start. I took my credit cards and my loans and I made a list of them all. And I won't give you the whole list because it'd be longer than the sheet of paper that I've got, but let me give you an example. Let's say I had a Visa card and it had, I'm going to use round numbers. They're not the real numbers I had, because the numbers I had were actually quite a bit more than the ones I'm going to show you. But just for ease of use, I'm going to show you what I did. A Visa card with £1,000 on it. I had a MasterCard with £3,000 on it. Then I had store cards. I had several store cards actually. because they are just so easy, aren't they? When you go to pay at the till and they offer you a special discount just for taking the card, and then they put it on the card, and then when it comes to pay for it, you think, well, if I just pay the minimum payments, I can actually go out for a meal. It's just such a slippery slope. And I had these, and so maybe I've got £500 on this one, and maybe I'd got, I'd only had one purchase on this, so it was 250 or something like that. I mean, I don't mean one item of clothing, I mean one visit to a store, something like that. And then I had a loan, and the loan was quite a bit more. Let's say there was £10,000 on one, and loan two, £15,000. I had £200 additional income as a supervisor to start paying off my debts. I was meeting all the minimum payments from the balanced income and expenditure, but I wanted to start paying these down. And I had £200. Let's say my minimum payment on this £250 is going to be, if it's 5% of that, it would be a £5 minimum payment. So I put my £200 towards paying this off. In 2 months, I've paid off that card. And what that saved me is the £5 minimum payment that I'm paying there. And so the next month, I find the next smallest. £500 minimum payment, £10. And I'm paying my £200 off this £500. But now it's not just £200, it's £205. Because the minimum payment that I was paying here, I'm now paying to this. Doesn't sound like much at this stage, but believe you me, as we move through these, it makes a massive, massive difference. So within 3 months, I've paid this off as well. Now, there is a school of thought that says you should look at which of the credit cards you're paying the highest APR on and pay that off first. And logically, that is a really good idea. But few of us are logical in our approach to this, and I think that by actually paying off one in full quite quickly and another one in full quite quickly is so emotionally motivating that you feel like you're actually getting somewhere and achieving something. So I think if you start with the smallest one, and then the next smallest one, the next smallest one, it feels like you're actually doing something about it. So when I paid this off, and remember, it's a couple of months for that, 3 months for that. In fact, between these two, 750 at £200 a month and £205, that's only 4 months I'll have paid these two off. And now I've saved both these minimum payments, so it's £215 per month that I'm paying down. So I'm accelerating the rate at which I'm paying down the cards. Now on this list, the next one is the Visa with just £1,000. Now, if the minimum payment on that, on £1,000 is 5%, the monthly payment, then that would be a minimum of £50. And so I'm paying my £215 off this now, actually plus the minimum payment of 50, so this is going down. Even at, let's use 200 as round numbers, it's still within 5 months that will have paid off. So within 9 months of getting started, I've paid down 3 credit cards and I've got an additional £50, £65 to be paying off towards the next one. So the rate that you're paying off is actually increasing. Not only that, but remember, I've talked about this with just a fixed amount from my Forever business. But 9 months in, my business had actually grown to a manager business, and now I was drawing, instead of the £200 as a supervisor business, I'd gone through £500 as an assistant manager, and now £1,000. Now, when my income was £1,000, I actually started putting some of that towards a few lifestyle things. Took a few holidays, nothing lavish, still on a budget, but a little bit more comfortable, but still put most of it towards paying down the next bill. A £3,000 credit card bill, minimum payment at 5%, which is a kind of typical minimum payment, is £150 a month. So when that's paid off, you've got an additional £150 pay these off. And as you go, my list was a lot longer than this. But as I went through this, the money I was saving in clearing these cards, I immediately applied to the next one, and it actually accelerated the progress of paying the cards off. So I was able to pay off all my cards. I was able to pay off the loan that was going to take me over 20 years to pay off. I paid all of the cards and all of my loans off within 4.5 years of starting my Forever business. Not only that, but because of this acceleration of the growing income from my Forever business, the money I was saving by not paying all this money to the bank, I started applying that to my mortgage, and within 18 months of paying these off, I paid my mortgage off as well. So that's just within 6 years of starting my Forever business. Something I'd never done before. I didn't know what to do. I had to start from scratch, learn how to do it, and all I did was had a focus on paying down my debts, and it enabled me to clear my debts, pay my mortgage. I know of no other thing apart from robbing a bank and winning the lottery, and I think it's very unlikely that I'm ever going to do either of those two, that would have enabled me to clear this kind of debt. And I can assure you of one thing absolutely: you sleep so sweetly when you have no debts. You live very comfortably with no debts. And what you have in your hands is an opportunity to change somebody's life by showing them how to raise their income and how to apply some or all of that income to clearing their debts, and you'll change their lives forever.